Oh my God, I'm so tired. I feel like that these freaks, since they're about to be done, fully found out, and arrested, and incarcerated, that they are doing like every single thing they can to vamp everything from me. They're defeated though, defeated. So today, well, last night there was this message that basically straight up had my birthday in it. And it kind of seemed to confirm the fact that somebody else got my mom pregnant. So I thought about right before my mom conceived me and where they were, which was Nollins, and the fact that I put up like a red beans and rice, I don't know, cooking tutorial or whatever you'd call it. And that one was hacked and thwarted. But it was really interesting. I mean, it would make sense because I've never really felt like my own dad that I've known to be my dad actually cared a whole lot, and seemed to be unfazed by the fact that every situation that I go work at seems to be a life-threatening one, where basically contracts and hits are taken out on me. And just the way that he's treated me and never acknowledged any of my work and actually gives the credit to my siblings. He especially did that with the daycare program. And then when I said something about being bought out of that, my mom said, well, you're talented. Yeah, for someone that preached the parable of talents, that'd be all the more reason to actually help your daughter get that medical treatment she needs to get better. So I used to, after I started the childcare program, when I was working on putting together an art curriculum that was really based on recycling, upcycling, and earth sustainable practices for early childhood children. When I was close to 30 or around that age, and I was being invited to participate in business programs with the Chamber of Commerce, and going through small business development centers, business courses and whatnot, and being recognized by people in my community as being career advanced and whatnot. I used to daydream a lot about the restaurant / bed and breakfast that I would put at the childhood home, which is now an Airbnb. Almost got sold until my idea of it actually being rented out was recognized by people that like to take my ideas and make money off of them and then leave me in the cold constantly, lie about me, defame about me, take part in agendas to do such. But anyways, I would dream about how I would be an exceptional business owner and boss, and how I would incorporate, sorry, I'm being a little bit attacked as I make this, the reins off the chain. How I would do yearly evaluations for my staff and use a proactive way to train and build better employees. But also at the same time, I wanted to offer them jobs that were competitive in the market and where they would make top dollar concerning the position. But there would also be incentives. I remember when I did work at the Olive Garden, they would sometimes take us out to dinner at other restaurants for staff meetings, such as the Outback or whatever. And then they would split our staff into two teams, and there would be say an appetizer sales contest for the month, where whatever team won and sold the most appetizers, their team would get to take a Saturday off and go on a float trip. And so I thought about, having drawings where prizes were given for people that had just exhibited exceptional work ethic or performance. And, they'd be able to be put in a drawing, or those that maybe hadn't missed a day of work would be able to be put in a drawing, and basically using those sorts of techniques to be a boss and a manager. And then everything in my life unraveled. The first part of it was that, the boyfriend, the partner, the love that I had, he failed to step into that place of being that counterpart of security. And it ended up being heartbreak that ended up, pushing me down for many years. He had a lot of insecurities, and it's affected my life and my life path ever since. That got kind of sick. It turned into codependency, but when he wouldn't live with me up there, and he had mold issues too, and I didn't realize that at the time, but it was at a place where I first started to develop extreme chronic illness. And although I told my doctor at the time that I was experiencing like extreme issues of not being able to get up the stairs, like being breathless when I'd walk up the stairs, and there was black mold in that house. And she just ignored me. She just said, well, sometimes people, when they get thyroid disease, which, by the way, if you watch my other videos, if I'm treated with metformin and at my ideal weight, I don't need any thyroid pills at all whatsoever. And when all they did was treat me with thyroid pills, I ended up so sick I couldn't sit up in a chair, which led to an unwarranted welfare check, which led to deformation of character, which has led to further targeting. And other medical doctors that were willing to work with me, and the biotoxin specialist backing out of treatment. I think there are other influences involved in that as well, such as karmic doppelganger, energy vamping, destiny swapping type energies. But anyways, so I was completely ignored by my doctor. Even though my stuff was it pointed to extreme illness. I'd been on a missionary trip to Nicaragua where there was a ton of disease, and even my son that I conceived right after that ended up dying on an operating table in Helsinki, Finland at 20 months old with the manifestation of rat lungworm. But these weren't things that these subpar physicians were willing to even look into at all whatsoever. I was basically medically neglected, medically mismanaged, medically misdiagnosed, and then medically defamed to cover up their liability. There's been a lot of deformation of character that I did not deserve so that people could cover up their liabilities when I wasn't even taking action to do anything about it. I just didn't deserve what they've done to me. So anyways, I ended up very ill, losing everything. Extreme chronic fatigue syndrome, which is also something that the medical industry doesn't want to tell the truth about because they don't want to acknowledge the microbial causes of actual chronic illness. They want to turn into other stuff. They want to actually put the blame on the patient so as to escape liability. And basically, they're just a bunch of slaves for Big Pharma. That's why a bunch of doctors are quitting right now, because it's a corrupt industry that needs to change. I'm certain that's why my Swedish ancestors ended up dead and relocating from Billings, because doctors and lawyers ended up dead after they had made advancements into the medical industry. And a few of them ended up dead, and then they relocated to the Seattle and Denver area. So anyways, I'm really lucky to be alive. But the situation is being and starting to be rectified, because those that are committing federal crimes against me are being found out, and they are being forced to stop messing with me and messing with my life and messing with my story. And so I just have to keep making these videos so that when they do interfere with the upload of my true story, that the federal crimes are being tallied against them. Because it's not okay to commit federal crimes, and it's not okay to destroy innocent lives, and it's not okay to tell lies about chronically ill people. It's all ridiculous. But no, it really hit home. Like, I couldn't deny the fact of that video, because it straight up started out with my actual birth date. And, after my mom became pregnant with me, they went from Nolens to Corpus Christi, and my dad was working those offshore radioactive related jobs. And that is when my mom was halfway through her pregnancy with me that she got transferred to the Center of Genetic Studies in South Salt Lake. And I was born at Dugway Proving Grounds in Area 52. I'm tired and I need to get in the bath and take my opportunity to wash this painful gray goo out of the top of my head. But since then, every single opportunity of mine has been thwarted. I've been lied about constantly by my dad in his church and people involved, by siblings. All they've done is spread rumors about me. Even a naturopath in town that actually was the one to first diagnose me with PCOS, and that is why I was treated with metformin and why I got better and why my body flushed stuff. Like at this point, like the best sort of medical care I can get, and this is so ridiculous, would be to go get an IUD so that my uterine lining will be shed, and along with a lot of microbial colonization with it, and then to pull the sucker right out. That's about the best kind of medical treatment that I could get right now. That is crazy. It's absolutely absurd, and it needs to change, and it needs to change fast. But no, it works. And, they're happy to give people at, like these community health centers, all they want to do is prove that everyone is a junkie with AIDS. And that's the extent of really what their medical treatment is based on. If you've got chronic illness, that's their aim. And if you're in a low income bracket because they've left you with chronic illness, then they're happy to give you birth control. So yeah, I may be able to go get an IUD so that my body will flush its uterine lining and a lot of the pathogens with it, and I'll get a good cleanse there and then pull it out. That's absolutely absurd that that's what our medical industry has gotten to. And it's completely destroyed my life. I've literally lost decades of my life and of work. So anyways, today I go on a reading, and it is about the Virgo getting her inheritance, the money that was left for her, the money that quite possibly could be being spent by other family members committing identity fraud against her. But anyways, there is somebody in the chat, and this is wild because so I waited on a table over the WC at the last job I had before everything went cuckoo crazy and they failed at their ticking time bomb assignment to try to like set me off and, get me to fall in line with, and make their defamation of character with the paper here okay. So they failed at that, and then they failed at setting me up with a false police report and a false thing going down. They failed at all that. But before that, and then it would have been the month of June or July. I waited on a table, and a guy named Rick was at that table, and he told me, and this, he told me I had $1 million smile. And I started to be called an earth angel and started to learn that, that is what I am, and quite possibly why I was born in Area 52. Anyways, so he told me I had $1 million smile. And then shortly after that, I waited on a table in the bar area of somebody that came with a nanny like figure that actually was a nanny for, celebrity type people. And she was wearing like that hipster fedora that everyone wears these days. And what she really stuck out to me because she was like treating me like I was a celebrity. And like she knew who I was, and like she was a really big fan of mine, but she had that sort of like pretentious narcissistic, and I know it well. I know the pretentious narcissistic spiritual tone. And yeah, so like she was like, "Wanting my number?" Kind of like that. And she got my number, but the thing is she never texted me or she never called me. I just ended up having more hacking issues after that. But it was like after we had a country musician come in, and I mentioned that I was like trying to figure out if he was married or whatever. And she was like, they all are, they just lie about it. This is the nanny figure. The nanny figure was Hispanic. And then it was like a sort of smaller, dark-haired girl with like medium to long hair and a fedora. So anyways, it was interesting. That table stuck out to me as well. But so anyways, after I was told I had $1 million smile, this person that was in this chat on this, on this reading that was talking about Virgo getting her money and getting her inheritance. Here I am, by the way, because they're looking for me. Here I am. Her name was, and my profile's got my real name. I did use an alias before, but that was because I'm trying to like run from these vamps, basically. And so I had come up with like an alias name that was like my actual name in a different order, Alyssa, but spelled like Sally. But if you were to take the A and you were to, if you were to write my name Sally, 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 all in a line, and you start at one A and you ended it at the other A, that was how I spelled Alyssa. And then I used the name of my ancestors in Nilsson before they turned Nelson in America. And it was basically just to try to, escape being targeted by these thieving vamps, basically. But now I use my actual real name. Well, this is another fake profile that was on there, and it said Earth Angel $1 Million Smile was the name of her profile. I couldn't even stay on that message because of the doppelganger energy and the bad energy that I felt. And, just looking at that and the way that she was commenting in this and that and the other thing. So I don't know if that's like, a person of interest, somebody that is involved with stealing my identity and cashing my checks or whatever. But it's just interesting. I thought I would share that stuff, those experiences. When I go to these jobs, I just go for survival and a place to live. I particularly like to go to the hot springs because it helps with my medical condition that the doctors won't treat. It's horrible. It's horrible to be left with shingles on the top of your head for over 6 years. The skin leprosy wasn't fun either, but none of it is. At least with it being on the top of my head, like it's not all over my face and arms. I mean, it's annoying how like half of my hair is gone and I have to like wear it in an updo all of the time. I miss being able to wear my hair down. I can a little bit like with a thin braid now with a hat or whatever, but I can't take it off. It's sad. But when I go to these jobs, even though I'm career displaced, and I've got an appointment to let the state of Montana know what my biggest challenges and struggles are. Part of it is actually trying to overcome the defamation of character that was left about me in the paper that I never deserved to have. All these other people make mistakes, and then they further victimize victims with their corrupt behavior, and it's not okay. It's a misuse of having a government position, and these people shouldn't have checks that they cash that come from the money of taxpayers at all. And so, what was he talking about? I go to these jobs, and although I have as many or more qualifications, even though I'm very career displaced because my experience is quite lagging, as I became so sick, I was literally fainting on the way to the bathroom, and I became 80 to 95%, depending on after if I'd done a head scan. If it was after I'd done a head scan, I'd be like 95% bedridden for a good 6 to 8 weeks, fainting on the way to the bathroom. But other than that, I'd be like 75 to 80% bedridden, and I was 4 years. And it was actually the metformin that helped me get better. I need to write a letter to Social Security because the thing is when you've got stuff like this, it gets into remission when you are being medically treated. But, even since doctors were basically, confronted by some corrupt organizations, they dropped me basically, and I lost my chance to get better. The specialty judge of the Northwest of this country was actually pretty excited that I was actually going to be able to, get treated and get my life back together. And so since I've had to work these jobs for survival, for a place to live, now they've got me in a work review when really literally they need to be looking at the fact that the diagnosis that they have down is not right. It's been overturned. I actually have a complex post-traumatic stress disorder. That's a whole nother show, because you have something like that where you've been a victim and you've been victimized and you're a victim of, narcissistic abuse, a narcissistic abuse survivor, which isn't something they recognize. That's why you can tell that these systems are run by victimizers, basically, is that they're not trying to put any advertisements on YouTube about being a victim of chronic post-traumatic stress disorder or a victim of narcissistic, a narcissistic abuse survivor. No, they want to throw you a commercial about borderline personality disorder so that you hear symptoms that overlap with being a victim, and then you take on the responsibility yourself when it wasn't your responsibility. That's further abuse towards somebody that's been a victim of early childhood sexual abuse, Well, it was all through my adolescence, started in early childhood, but it was all through my adolescence. But you're like further victimizing a victim, and it's disgusting. So anyways, that was the trickery. I was convinced until like all of the physicians I was working with said, no, 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 you do not have that. And even the former physician, the doctor that dropped me and that diagnosed me with the Lyme disease co-infection, she said, I know you don't have it because I had it, and no judgment. It's basically like she was in an abusive situation as a child herself. So it's a cry for help. But I had, I had to withdraw from my second appointment with a neuropsych, because of the fact that the other doctor here that dropped me, that had agreed to work with the biotoxin specialist and give me the labs that I finally was able to get because I got disability. And the main reason, one of the most prominent reasons being so that the Medicare could be used to get the labs that I needed to get better, so that I'm not a burden to taxpayers. Our systems are so screwed up, it's unreal. It's costing all of you taxpayers so much unnecessary funds. Talking in circles, it's a really long story, and I'm going to try to, fit it into 30 minutes, like a whole lot of craziness that's gone on for decades in my life, trying to fit it into a half an hour. So anyways, but even when the psychiatrist I had talked to said, no, you do not have borderline personality. What you have is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And the symptoms, yes, indeed, they overlap quite a bit. She talked to the neuropsych that was supposed to do another evaluation. I was cleared of all, major mental illnesses by a day and a half neuropsych appointment. And that's somebody that's worked in the Washington State Hospital criminally insane ward, basically, pretty sure she knows her stuff, top professional. She got put on a different assignment when everything started going down. But anyways, I was supposed to get a reevaluation of that. And even when my psychiatrist had spoke with that official, he also, even just looking at my file, said, no, this girl does not have borderline personality disorder. She doesn't. In fact, I've had the opposite, where I've allowed myself to be walked on like a rug, to have my kindness taken for weakness, to be further abused, because it's a pattern that's been established and was set at a very early age for me. And this is why I speak about it, because I want to overcome it. And I still want to believe that, there can be hope for, my family, but they've put my life in danger and they've done me very dirty and they've lied about me. So I do deserve to have an apology from them if they want to be in my life again. It's only appropriate, it would be healthy for both me and the other family members. But I still want to believe that that situation is going to get rectified and fixed, and there will be healing, and that my narcissistic father will start to look at and realize some of the stuff going on and do the right thing to change before it's too late for him, and fix our family. Instead of further doing me dirty with his thuggish friends. It's interesting because this other physician that backed out did so after my dad had an appointment with him. So my dad broke HIPPA with him, and he tried to break HIPPA with another doctor. It's narcissism. That's definitely a narcissistic action. But yeah, he very well could not be my actual father. And just looking back at my whole life and the way that they treated me differently, it would make sense. It would make a lot of sense. So anyways, I want to believe that in this coming up year, things are going to be made right and set straight, and that I will be again treated. Oh yeah. So it was a naturopath that actually told me first about the PCOS, and it was the treatment of the metformin for PCOS that got me into a place of remission. Of course, when everything changed 2 years ago, I lost that treatment. I lost my medical care. I lost my doctors, and it was all in an attempt by thuggish people that steal people's money to be able to continue to steal people's money. And they are being dethroned. These monsters are being defeated, and they will be. So I need to speak out about it, and people like me need to speak out about it too. But I mean, it was really interesting that a profile was developed August 11th of this past year after I was told at this job at the WC that I had $1 million smile. And then all of a sudden, a profile is created with that name. I mean, of course, I am like the motherboard, quite literally, the 76 Dugway 52 motherboard. So yeah, I mean, I do consider the fact that a lot of what's in my brain actually spreads out to the collective. You know, why I feel like Miley Cyrus covers every single favorite song of mine and basically is just swimming in my energy. I can't even handle it. But you know what? I'm going to get my shine and I'm going to get my spotlight, and people aren't going to be able to overtake it and vamp me the frick out and, you know, keep me suppressed anymore. It's all going to come into alignment. Things are going to come in alignment. And when they come into alignment with me, they will come into alignment with others, you know, because I am the mother star seed. They will come into alignment with the others, the other chosens, the other star seeds and stuff. So anyways, I say all of this in complete humility. I know a lot of people have suffered and been through tragic stuff, but you know, and I actually even acknowledge that there's probably a lot of people that have been through a lot worse than I have. But these people that want to play this little like victim card, they haven't been almost killed on a warrant of welfare check. Them and their dogs almost killed, jailed when they shouldn't have been jailed, further defamed, and then you know, targeted at every single job they try to go to since, you know. And all these people have connections. All these people have connections with the celebs at these last two jobs, you know. So anyways, those are the significant things that happened just recently. And I share this stuff because it does relate to legal stuff. Of course, it gets hacked by people whose IP addresses need to be tracked, and they need to have the charges brought against them, and they need to be put behind bars if they are committing federal crimes. It's not okay for people to commit federal crimes. And all wolves in sheep's clothing need to be revealed. And all of those that misuse their clearance and their position of authority, they need to be found out and need to be charged. There's going to be a lot of people serving a lot of time for cyber crimes this year. And it's good. It's really just going to build a better tomorrow, because the people that are honest and pure at heart and have been victimized, they need to be lifted up. It will change the balance of things, and it will create a better tomorrow for the kiddos. And it starts with supporting Mother Gaia, Mother Cosmos, Mother Starseed, the motherboard here. It really does. And so I want to believe that's what's going to happen. And these karmic doppelganger, destiny thieves and or thieves, identity thieves and or thieves of inheritance money, they're not going to win. They are not going to win. That's not what's supposed to happen. They are not going to help establish a better new world and a better tomorrow. They're not. This stuff was put in me, and I was called for a reason. So anybody trying to target me, steal what has been given to me, steal my ideas, you're done. You're done. Your gig is up. Your game is up. Your gang's up. Your gig is up. Your game is up. You're done. Be fully exposed. May the truth come out. And may those of us that deserve to be supported, because the meek will inherit the earth. And when we do, it's going to be a way better earth. I mean, the fact that, like, I've never been out for any of these psychotic narcissistic managers' jobs, but they treated me like I have, and they got rid of me because I was competition and I was in the way. How in the world is that building a better tomorrow? It's not. And it's really sad that sociopathic, narcissistic criminals are put in charge of businesses, and they're the ones managing businesses, while they further victimize victims that are just trying to get their life together and do the best they can when they're not being treated by a medical system that should be treating them. It's absolutely upside down, backwards, and all that is wrong with the earth, and it needs to change. And it starts by changing with this girl right here. And then it'll change for a lot more. It'll change the whole course of everything. You know, we won't have gold diggers taking you for everything you own and, you know, putting your divine counterpart's life at risk constantly. Do you want to win? Or do you just want to be that old, gross, nasty dude that's got money, so he's got women pretending like they love him? because they're gold diggers. Is that what you really want, divine masculine?